So we will start by glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesh Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatradarana Para. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining the session today. We will start by announcing the winners of the participants of the quiz competition from yesterday. On Facebook, we would like to thank the participants Prem Vikas Prabhu, Divyangi Lalita Mataji, Shweta Mataji, Ranjani Gopika Mataji, Meena Mataji, Swati Mataji, Madhu Bhashini Madhivi Mataji. On YouTube, Venkatapati Vasudev Prabhu, Keshavi Mataji, Vijeta Mataji, Shweta Manjiri Mataji, Divyangi Lalita Mataji, Prem Vikas Prabhu, Trilokini Sakhi Mataji, Geeta Varadarajan Mataji, Vrindavani Mataji, Shweta Surya Narayan Mataji, and Hari Krishna Maddali. So it's very encouraging to see that more and more new devotees are also coming forward and participating in this wonderful quiz, which will keep us reminding of Krishna. So we'd like to start with the discussion. Before we start and get into the prayers, I'd like to clarify on both myself and Kalasudha's behalf that yesterday there was a question that was asked by, I guess, Venkatapati Vasudev Prabhu about that this fight, where did this happen? Did this happen in the heavenly abodes? Did this happen on earth? The question was, it's very difficult to believe that all of these things happened on earth. So yesterday the answer that was given was that it happened on earth, but actually we looked into Srila Prabhupada's purport, and we are very happy that Srila Prabhupada corrected us from Srimad Bhagavatam. In the chapter 10, verse 16 purport, Srila Prabhupada said that this fight happened on the banks of Narmada river. Herein, the Narmada does not mean the Narmada river in India. The 5 sacred rivers in India, Ganga, Jamuna, Narmada, Kaveri, and Krishna, are all celestial. Like the Ganges river, the Narmada river also flows in the higher planetary systems. And the battle between the demigods and demons took place in the higher planets. So this is straight from Srila Prabhupada. We'd like to apologize, but We are all following Srila Prabhupada, and this is the actual understanding of the answer that was given yesterday. All right. So with this, we'll start today's verses, today's chapters. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we start with chapter 13, King Indra afflicted by sinful reaction. We heard in the previous chapters that King Indra was afflicted by sinful reaction for killing the three heads of Vishwarupa, severing them. As a result, he distributed amongst the four categories. However, this chapter describes Indra's fear at having killed a Brahmana, Vritrasura, and describes how he fled and was saved by the grace of Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu. So when all the demigods, the Devatas, they requested Indra to kill Vritrasura, he refused because he said, you know what, Vritrasura, he appeared from fire. He appeared from a Brahmana. So he's a Brahmana. The Devatas, but they said, Indra, don't fear, because you are protected by Narayan Kavach. You're protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You take, just by the glimpse of chanting of Narayan's name, one becomes free from all sinful reactions of killing a woman, killing a cow, killing a Brahmana. So the Devatas, they said to kill Vritrasura, don't hesitate. You can perform Ashwamedh sacrifice after you kill him. And then Narayan would be pleased, because such a performer of the sacrifice is not implicated in the sinful reactions, even if he kills the entire universe. So Indra said, well, that makes sense, Devatas, that's fine. Following this instruction, King Indra, he fought Vritrasura. But when Vritrasura was killed, everyone was satisfied. Everyone was jubilant, except Indra. Because Indra knew Vritrasura's position. His consciousness was so pure. This is the nature of a great personality like Indra. Even if a great personality acquires some opulence, he's always ashamed and regretful if he acquires it illegally. Indra could understand that he was certainly entangled in sinful reactions for killing a Brahmana. So he could see sinful reaction personally following Indra. So he fled in fear. He fled here, he fled there, he fled in different places. And then he said, how do I get myself rid of the sins? That personality was the sin personified was so ugly and so ferocious. And it was just following, very, very creepy. He went to Manasa Sarovar. Not Manasarovar, Manasa Sarovar. And there, under the protection of Mother Lakshmi Devi, He meditated for 1,000 years. And when he was meditating, who was there in the Devalok, in the Swarga? Who was the king? Nahusha. Nahusha became the king. He reigned over the heavenly planets as a representative of Indra. But he was attracted, unfortunately, by the beauty of Indra's wife, Sachi Devi. And because of his sinful desire, he had to accept the body of a serpent in his next life. And then Indra performed the great sacrifice that they said, with the help of all the exalted brahmanas and saints, and he was released from the sinful reactions of killing of a brahmana. So this is very important, because one's outer birth, there are a lot of lessons in this chapter. This ends this particular chapter 13, but let's see what lessons do we learn from this chapter. That one's outer birth does not determine whether one is a devotee or not. Vritrasura, he was born in a demoniac family as a demon, fought on behalf of the demon against the Devatas. But he still went to Vaikuntha after death. He was a Brahmana. Prabhupada, he was a Brahmana because he was a Vaishnava. That's why he was a Brahmana. We may say, well, if you see his past life, he was not a Brahmana. In this life, how can you call him a Brahmana? Because he was a Vaishnava, therefore he was a Brahmana. Therefore, killing of a Vaishnava is also Brahmahatya. Whether that Vaishnava is according to the status of the society, a Brahmana or not. So let's do some anusmarana on Vritrasura. Let's try to put ourselves in the position of Vritrasura and try to understand what was he going through. This will be very, very helpful when we go through some situations like Vritrasura is going through. We will be able to relate to Vritrasura, and this will soothe the pain, believe me. It helps so much to rather than brooding over our pain, think of these great personalities, immerse ourselves into their particular position and see how they must have felt, how they dealt with it. And that just relieves all the pain. Vritrasura, all the devotees, the Devatas, were against him. They wanted to kill him. He was in the body of a demon. But instead of justifying himself, instead of glorifying himself, that, do you know, I was a big king in the previous life, and we'll see that in the future chapters. He was King Citraketu. He didn't glorify, I was King Citraketu. What are you talking about? Why are you being against me? I'm a devotee of the Lord. He did not want to justify anything. He just surrendered to Krishna. He said, I will fight as my duty, and whatever happens by Krishna's mercy, I will accept it gratefully. He did not even tell Krishna, I'm your devotee, save me. Indra said that. And of course, their representatives, we should understand that in many cases, there are pastimes where Indra is condemned in many places. But we should not personally be offensive to Indradev. We should respect Indradev in our hearts because he's being used as an instrument to teach us what not to do. Teaching means to teach what to do and to teach what not to do. Both are important. If you only tell what to do, but don't explain what not to do, then it's not very clear, and we may end up doing something that we should not. And if we only say what not to do, but forget to say what to do, that's also not proper. So Krishna teaches with the example of great saints and sages how to lead our life. And he uses the example of great saints and sages, greater saints and sages, to set an example of how not to do. Bhishma Dev. We don't become offensive to Bhishma Dev. He was a pure devotee. He was so pure, he allowed himself to be blasphemed to be used as an instrument of Krishna to teach us what not to do. Same with Indradev. So we'll see many pastimes like that of Indra, but we should be very, very careful not to commit offense, not to make light of Indradev. So here, Indradev did say, please protect me, because me in the sense, he represents the entire heavenly planets, and they are serving on behalf of Krishna himself. So they are wanting to protect their position, but also in that sense, they're trying to protect Krishna's order. That's why Krishna always even satisfies their material desire in that sense of keeping a position, because that position is on behalf of Krishna. It's helping Krishna's creation to move forward. They're doing it on behalf. Now, Vritrasura, he was completely detached. He was Maro bhira kobhi jo ichha tohar aur pilu tua pade. Meaning that I have completely surrendered myself. You want to kill me? You want to keep me alive? That's up to you. Vritrasura said, I'm fighting, and I know whatever you will do, Krishna, whatever result you will give me, will be for my spiritual benefit. I have that faith. Abhishya Rakhibe Krishna. Meaning Krishna will definitely protect. As devotees, we must have that faith. Now, he may not protect the way we want him to protect. And we should not tell Krishna, I'm your devotee, now protect me the way I tell you to protect me. No. Protect me the way you want me to protect, because you know better than me. And please give me the strength. Whatever result you give me the strength to accept it gratefully, without any complaining, without any fear. We should not look for political gain or name and fame in this world, or look for this highest position. So these, in this, text, it said that all the demigods, they started saying, one who has killed a Brahmana. There is a Brahmaha Pitriha Gogno Matriha Charyaha Gavan Shvada Pulka Sako Vapi Shuddhyeran Yasya Kirtanat Tam Ashvamedhena Mahamakhena Shraddhanvitosmabhir Anushthistena Hatvapi Sabrahmacharacharam Tvam Nalipyase Kim Khala Nigrahena. One who has killed a Brahmana, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or spiritual master can be immediately freed from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan. Other sinful persons, such as dog eaters, chandalas, and who are less than Shudras, can also be freed in this way. But my dear Indra, you are a devotee, and we will help you by performing the great Ashwamedh Yagya, horse sacrifice. If you please Lord Narayana in that way, why should you be afraid? You'll be freed even if you kill the entire universe, including the Brahmanas, not to speak of killing a disturbing demon like Vritrasura. Now, it is true that by chanting the holy name Narayan, every sinful person can become free. But we cannot intentionally commit sins. Namnad balad yasyahi papa buddhi. That is the seventh offense, to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. And guess what? That is what Indra did on the request of the demigods. The demigods said, perform this sinful activity. Later you can atone. That immediately became an offense. That's why the sinful person came behind him. Ajamila, he also chanted the name of Narayan. But for him, the Vishnudutas came. Why? Because he innocently chanted. He did not have a plan that let me commit all these sinful activities and then I will take advantage of chanting the holy name, of the power of the holy name. So he was free. This is a very subtle. Ajamil versus Indra. He did this intentionally. This actually was an offense to the holy name. And so it's very important that we, uh, be free from offenses. And in order to be free from offenses, we must be free from pride. This comes because of our arrogance and pride that, let me do whatever I want. Later, Krishna is going to stop me. We should not be proud even to become a devotee. We should be humble. His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he told a story. He said this comes from Kena Upanishad. It was also told by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur in Jaiva Dharma about when Bhakti Vinod Thakur is discussing about Shakti. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj said, Krishna one time, he wanted to test the demigods because they had become very proud after defeating the demons. They defeated the demons by the mercy of Krishna. But rather than thinking this is the mercy of Krishna, they started becoming proud. So Krishna came in the form of Yaksha, one of the heavenly beings. And all the Agni, Vayu, Indra, everyone was there. And they all told, hey, Agni, go ask, who's this person? He's so effulgent. Who is he? So Agni went, who are you? So Yaksha, who is none other than Krishna in the form of Yaksha, he said, me? Who are you? And so Agni said, you don't know? I'm Agni. I'm fire god. You don't even know that? Yaksha said, oh, fire god. Are you great? Agni says, great? Oh, yes. So Yaksha said, what can you do? Agni said, well, I can burn anything to ashes. Yaksha said, all right. He took a blade of grass and he said, here is the blade of grass. Burn it. Burn it. And Agni tried all its power and energy to burn that blade of grass, which is so thin and humble. He could not burn that blade of grass. His pride was crushed. Then Yaksha said, where is your Shakti? And Agni put his head, hung, and went away. Then Pavandev came. Pavandev said, you defeated Agni? Who are you? Yaksha asked him the same thing. Who are you? Pavandev, Vayudev said, I am wind god. Yaksha said, are you great? Pavandev, Vayudev said, yeah, of course I'm great. What do you mean? What can you do? Pavandev said, I can blow anything. Yaksha said, all right, here is a blade of grass. Try to blow it. And he tried all his might to blow that blade of grass. But because that blade of grass had Krishna's protection, it would not move. And then Vayudev, his pride was crushed. And as he left, Yaksha disappeared. Indra came. And Indra asked Uma Devi, wife of Lord Shiva, who was he? And Uma Devi said, you don't know? Have you not recognized? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Parabrahman. You don't have any Brahma Gyan. So how can you recognize Brahma, Parabrahman? So in this way, this pastime was mentioned, that Krishna does not like pride in his devotees. Even amongst Devtas, they are his devotees. He does not like pride. In Gopi Gita, it says, Vraja janartihan virayoshitam nija janasmaya dvamsana smita bhaja sakhe bhavat kinkari smano Jalaruhananam Charudarshaya. O you who destroy the suffering of Vraja's people, O hero of all women, your smile shatters the false pride of your devotees. Please, dear friend, accept us as your maid servants and show us your beautiful lotus face. Nija janasmaya dhvamsana smita. Your smile just crushes the pride. In Kali Yuga, this is a great test of Kali Yuga. You just quarrel and hypocrisy. The age of Kali is because of pride. And Mahaprabhu, he gives the solution through the chanting of the holy names. Offenseless. Trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnuna, amanina marndena, kirtanya sadahari. He says, take this pot, and in this pot is made up of 4 constituents. Trinadapi sunichena, be more humble than a blade of grass. Taroriva sahishnuna, more tolerant than a tree. Amanina, do not demand any respect for ourselves. And Manadena, give all respects to others. Mahaprabhu, he gave this pot and he's giving his mercy in this pot. If our pot is made up of these constituents, we can receive it. The Krishna Prema. But if our pot has holes, like lust, pride, greed, envy, anger, deceit, all these holes are there, Krishna Prema may come, but it will seep out of those holes. So we should not be proud. Pride is the biggest hole, which leads to everything else. So this is something which we should be very careful about. And this is what we can learn from this lesson, from this chapter. And also that by hearing and repeating and understanding the narration of Vritrasura and Indra, one gets great benefits simply by hearing. We get relief from all sinful reactions. Then we go to chapter 14, King Citraketu's lamentation. Essentially, in this chapter, Parikshit Maharaj asked his spiritual master, Shukadev Goswami, about the previous life of Vritrasura. And he asks, we know Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaye Yatatam api Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tatvataha. Out of thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So he's asking that among millions of living entities, there are very less number of human beings. Amongst human beings who are actually religious, there are very less who are eager to be liberated. And among many millions, one may become devotee of Lord Narayan. So such devotees are very rare. So how did Vritrasura, a demon, became such a rare devotee of the Lord? And Shukadev Goswami explained that he in his previous birth was King Citraketu, who had no sons. He got an opportunity to meet sage Aṅgirā Muni. And when Aṅgirā Muni inquired about the welfare of the king was very morose. He expressed that, please, I'm morose because I don't have any sons. So Aṅgirā Muni said, I can give you a benediction that you have son, but mind you, he will be the cause of your greatest happiness and he'll be the cause of your misery as well. So name him Harsha Shoka. Harsha means happiness. Shoka means lamentation. He'll give you both. But when the son was born to his first wife, Kritadyuti, the first wife of Citraketu, the king and all the residents, they were very happy. They forgot about the lamentation part of it, which is going to come. But then the co-wives of Kritadyuti, they became envious and they administered this poison to the child. And the child died after some years. Citraketu was overwhelmed by this death. And then Aṅgirā Muni, Nārad Muni again come to see. So this is where this is where from 32 to 61, this is what is explained, and the chapter ends there. And what do we understand about from this chapter? That only those hearts are completely clean, they can become pure devotees. Sometimes people, in their lamentation that their desire was not fulfilled, they criticize God, they criticize the Creator, that why you gave such reversals in my life. But we should understand the fault lies with us, because we are receiving just the reactions of our fruitive activities under the subtle laws of nature. And so, if we want to surpass our karma, then we must surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this ends chapter 14. Chapter 15, the saints Nārada and Aṅgirā instruct Citraketu. In this chapter, we will see how Aṅgirā Muni, along with Nārad Muni, console Citraketu as far as possible. And they came to relieve the king from this excessive lamentation by instructing him about the spiritual significance of life. So Aṅgirā Muni and Nārad Muni, they come again to see what is going on with my disciple Citraketu. So this time, when they came, they saw he was lamenting. He was so morose, much more morose than what he was when he met Aṅgirā Muni. And so they started, Aṅgirā Muni and Nārad Muni explained, the relationship between father and son, it's not factual. He's not actually your son. He's the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's the soul. The body may have come through you, but he's not the body. He's the soul. That's how we should treat our children. Our children belong to Krishna. They don't belong to us. Their bodies may look like us, but it's just the external covering. Their soul belongs to Krishna. Soul looks like Krishna, has Krishna's qualities. But we have been given the fortune to serve them. They have been given under our care. So we should care for them as Krishna's property, not as our own property. And so that's why he said, otherwise we'll always be suffering. He said, few years before, this relationship didn't exist between your father and son. And now that he has died, he's no more your son. So something, nasate vidyate bhavo, na bhave vidyate sata. That if something is not permanent, it is not real. This is what Bhagavad Gita says. So don't worry about this. Don't lament by this temporary arrangement. This child came into your life. Be grateful for whatever time you could spend with him. And don't complain about all the things that has happened. So then the great sages, they said that this happiness, if you search for happiness in matter, you will certainly lament for all your relationships. Try to be self-realized, meaning try to find out your relationship with Krishna. That's what we do when we chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We try to go deeper into the bhajan kutir of our heart. We are where our heart is. We are not where our physical body is. We are where our heart is, where our mind is. And if we go inside our bhajan kutir and actually try to develop a relationship with Krishna, when we are chanting, we are not just trying to finish our rounds. We are trying to develop a relationship. If we approach chanting in that way, you'll see how much bliss will be in the reciprocation of love. So then at the end of this chapter, from verse 27 to 28, Nārada gives Citraketu a mantra. And he said, if you chant this mantra, you will see Lord Sankarshan face to face. And this is where the chapter ends. So here we should learn, the lessons that we learn from here is that we are not this body, and we are in a miserable condition in this material world. We should not try to find happiness in the material world. We should try to find happiness, but not in the things of this material world, because it will disappoint us. We should try to find happiness in the spiritual existence of the Lord. So then it explains all these things. And then something that important that we can learn from here is that we should avoid the 3 C's. We should avoid complaining, criticizing, and comparing. 3 things. No complain, no criticize, no compare. Then we'll be able to perform devotional service. No complaining, don't lament, don't regret. Whatever happened, happened. It was because of your karma, it was because of Krishna's mercy. That's okay. We cannot go back and change. Let's not complain. Just like Hanuman. Hanuman never complained. He always was positive. He always looked forward for service. Okay, now I'm in this situation, how can I serve? His tail was put on fire. Now he could have sat and said and complained about it. Lord Ram, what did you do to me? I came as your messenger to your wife, and you put me in this situation. You are supposed to protect me. And this is how you give your protection? You burnt my tail, and in this way, now my tail is burnt. Now slowly, I'll be burnt. Look at this. This is what I get for devotional service. He could have said that. But no, Hanuman said, whatever be the situation, I will be grateful and I will see how I can serve in this situation. My tail is on fire. Let me burn the whole Lanka on behalf of Lord Ram. Jai Shri Ram. And he looked for opportunities to serve even in this situation. So we should learn from Hanuman how not to complain. No criticize. That's the second C. We should not criticize like Lord Ramachandra. He always saw the good in others. He always saw the good in Sugriva, who was a king who was a failed king in one sense. But he saw the devotion in Sugriva. He saw the devotion. He saw the good even in his mother, Kekai. He could have said, Kekai, Mother Kekai, what did you do? You betrayed me. No, he saw the good in her. He saw the good in Shabari. He saw the good in Nishadraj, who took him across the river. He never would criticize anyone. Even if Ravana would have come to take his shelter, he would have glorified him, taken him in shelter. So we should learn from Ramachandra, not to criticize and not to compare. We should not compare. Just like Dvivida. Dvivida compared himself to Lakshmana. Yes, the same Dvivida who was killed by Balaram. He was in the army of Lord Ramachandra. He was one of the great generals with Nal, Neela, and Dvivida. And he would compare himself to Lakshman. He would say, well, with this Lakshman, he fell unconscious. I'm not unconscious yet. I'm much better than Lakshman. He would always internally compare himself, his strength to Lakshman's strength. Because of that comparison, envy came. And because of that envy, he became a non-devotee. He started committing offenses. And then he came into bad association of Banasura and became Dvivida, the gorilla, who was later killed by another incarnation of Lakshman, Balaramji himself. So we should not compare, should not criticize, we should not complain, we should not compare. This is what we learn from this chapter of Citraketu, who was lamenting. and regretting and complaining. And look what that complaint led him to. He became worse. His situation, his lamentation became worse than before. If we lament or regret, that becomes worse. But if we be grateful and happy, that multiplies also. And if we can avoid these 3 C's, then we can implement the 3 D's of devotion, 3 D's of bhakti: determination, discipline, and devotion. If we can be determined, utsaha nishtaya dhairya tat tat karma pravartanat, Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Upadeshamrita. Utsaha nishtaya dhairya, nishtayat, with determination. And we cannot have determination unless we have enthusiasm as well as patience. So these go hand in hand. If we are determined but not enthusiastic, then we will not be able to move forward. If we are enthusiastic but not determined and don't have patience, then we'll give up. We are enthusiastic for some time and then we'll see it's not working out, so we'll give up. The 3D, then discipline. Second D is discipline. This is the 3D glasses that we should have for our bhakti. Determination, discipline. That we must do our sadhana with devotion, D for devotion. With love and devotion, whatever little love we have, we should chant with that feeling. And therefore, we should only act to develop our Krishna consciousness, because all these material situations are dream. There is no point complaining and lamenting about these dream-like occurrences. It's easier said than done, but we should understand the instruction. We also learn from this chapter how these devotees traverse the earth, giving all this different kinds of knowledge. And we should therefore aspire to live in the association of these devotees and engage in the service of the Lord. Devotees like Nārada Muni, like Aṅgirā Muni. And we should serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya, following the instructions of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Tadera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas. So with this, we end chapter 15 and start the last chapter, 16. King Citraketu meets the Supreme Lord. In this chapter, we will see how, because of that mantra that was given by Nārada Muni, Citraketu was able to talk with his dead son, and he was able to take shelter at the lotus feet of Sankarshana. In the beginning, Shukadeva Goswami says that by his mystic power, the great sage Nārada, seeing that Citraketu was lamenting so much, by his mystic power, he brought the dead son into the vision of all the lamenting relatives. And then Nārada Muni said, "O living entity, O Jiva, all good fortune to you. Just see, your mother and father, they are lamenting so much. All your friends and relatives, they are overwhelmed because you died untimely. The balance of your life still remains. So, by my power, I allow you to re-enter into your body and enjoy the remainder of your life. Accept this royal throne and all the opulences that are given by your father." Text 4 says, by this mystic power of Nārada Muni, the living entity re-entered the dead body of the son for a short time and then spoke suddenly in reply to Nārada Muni's request. And he said, "My dear Nārada Muni, because of my fruitive activities and karma, I have been transmigrating from one body to another, sometimes as demigods, sometimes as lower animals, amongst vegetables, sometimes human species. I don't remember which birth were they, my mother and father again? No one actually is my mother. No one is father. Krishna is my father. Krishna is my mother. How can I accept these two people as my parents?" And when Kritadyuti, his mother, and Citraketu heard these words coming from their son, their heart was broken. but they were also enlightened. They were like, yes, the son is telling the truth. The queens who had administered the poison to the son of Kritadviti, they were very much ashamed, and they atoned for this sinful act. And then Narad Muni, he chanted prayers to Narayana and instructed Citraketu from verse 17 to 26. He instructs Citraketu about the Supreme Lord, who is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator. And in this way, after instructing King Citraketu, he returned to Brahmaloka, Narad Muni. These instructions, 17 to 26, they are called Mahavidya. In this chapter, Mahavidya is given by Narad Muni to Citraketu. And because he was initiated by Narad Muni, not initiation in terms of sacrifice and he was given a new name and all that. Initiation happens when we submissively submit to the instructions of the spiritual master. King Citraketu, he submitted to the instructions. He got initiated. He chanted the Mahavidya. And after 1 week, just 1 week of doing this Mahavidya, he attained the presence of Lord Sankarshan. He was surrounded by the 4 Kumaras. This beautiful picture that we have of Vishnu surrounded by 4 Kumaras who have no clothes, that's Lord Sankarshan. That is the darshan that Citraketu had. The Lord was nicely dressed in bluish garments. He had a helmet, ornaments of gold, and his face was very happy. In this way, from 27 to 32 verse, it's described about the Lord's appearance. And then Citraketu, when he saw Lord Sankarshan, he offered obeisances. And he said in his prayers that millions and millions of universes, they rest in your pores, O my Lord Sankarshan. You're limitless. You had no beginning, no end. And if we worship demigods, the difference between worship the Devatas and worshipping you is that one who worships you, they become eternal. Whereas whatever benedictions we get from the Devatas, they're impermanent. It's like a shopkeeper giving you sweet versus the Father giving sweet. And all these prayers are from 33 to 48 on seeing Lord Sankarshan. And when King Citraketu finished his prayers, Lord Sankarshan explained the knowledge of himself to Citraketu and then disappeared from this place. This is from verse 49 to 65. This ends the chapter 16. And we can learn a lot of lessons from this. That how those who have performed abominable activities before coming to Krishna consciousness, just like the wives of Citraketu who had killed the son, they can also be freed from the reactions by chanting. But the condition is they should not repeat the sins again. So there is a lot of essential summary of the Mahavidya instructions. The summary is this: one should learn from the spiritual master of the great qualities of all blissful Lord and his subordinate dependent. We should understand our miserable dependent position. This is the essence of the Mahavidya prayers. Within 1 week, Lord Sankarshan was visible to him because he was feeling dependent and miserable. So when we are chanting and we are praying, we should pray with utter dependence. We should be happy, but we should still think about our miserable condition that we are in. But we should be happy because we are getting the mercy of the Lord. We should be happy for the positive mercy. Therefore, we should only desire his satisfaction. The essence is the Lord is extremely kind to his devotees. We should never forget that. And therefore, we should never leave the service of the Lord. And the essential summary of Maharaj Citraketu's Mahavidya and Lord Sankarshan, when he appears, is that the devotee can be renounced. He can have spiritual but no material desires. Now, the prayers of Maharaj Citraketu are very important. We'll try to understand different sections of the prayers of Maharaj Citraketu, and also then the prayers of Lord Sankarshan's response to Maharaj Citraketu. Just three sections. The three sections of prayers of Maharaj Citraketu. One is the Lord is unlimited and he is the creator. Yet he's conquered by the affectionate service of the devotees. So we should worship the Lord. That's point number one on the prayers that King Citraketu offered Lord Sankarshan. Second point, we should worship Krishna through Bhagavad Dharma, through hearing and chanting, which means acting for Krishna out of devotional surrender. And third point in the prayers of Citraketu is one should chant the Hare Krishna, worship the deity, and become purified by acting for Krishna's pleasure. Okay? Then Lord Sankarsana responded to Maharaj Citraketu. It has four parts in it. First one, Lord Sankarshan said, one can experience the Lord and have full knowledge only by his mercy. Krishna, Sankarshan himself, you can attain only by my mercy after one is purified. Second is the Lord is the absolute truth. He's the source of both reality and illusion, exactly what he says in Bhagavad Gita. Yet he stays in everyone's heart as super soul. Third one, we are fully dependent on the Lord, and our independent desire to enjoy simply brings us misery. That's all. Citraketu's prayer said, I'm dependent on you. Sankarshan response said, yes, you're dependent on me. And because you said you're dependent on me, I'm pleased. We just say, Krishna, Tavasmi. I'm yours. I'm dependent on you. Krishna is pleased just by that. We should mean it. And fourth, we are part and parcels of the Lord. We are meant to serve him. We should renounce all our independent mentality for devotional service. Lord Sankarshan comes and says, give up this independence and come back home, back to Godhead. And in this way, we end today's discussion with the four essential truths in Lord Sankarshan's response to Maharaj Citraketu. More about Maharaj Citraketu's life coming up tomorrow, but thank you so much for attending today. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions, we can take, and we will also tell you about the quiz. All right, one question from Keshavi Mataji. Citraketu got darshan of Lord Sankarshan, then why did he get birth again as Vritrasura demon? He did not get liberation or go back to Vaikuntha? No, just like Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj also had the darshan of the Lord. But because he had darshan of the Lord, he didn't go back home, back to Godhead immediately. He went back. Similarly, in his consciousness, Citraketu had already gone back home, back to Godhead, but not in his current body. And as about your question, why did he get birth again as Vritrasura? That exactly is the topic of discussion tomorrow. So stay tuned and you will know the answer to your question. All right. Before we get other questions, we'd like to speak on the quiz. Today's quiz has 14 questions. First, why was Indra not happy after killing Vritrasura? Where did Indra go to perform austerities and under whose shelter? Who represented Indra in the heavenly kingdom when Indra was performing these austerities? What was the offense that Indra committed? How does Krishna crush our pride? Who was Vritrasura in his previous life? What was the name of Maharaj Citraketu's son? Who gave the name and why? 8th, what are the 3 C's that we should avoid? 9th, what are the 3 D's we must cultivate? 10th question, in how much time did Supreme Lord appear to Maharaj Citraketu? What are the 3 sections of the prayers offered by Citraketu to Lord Sankarshan? And what are the 4 sections of Lord Sankarshan's reciprocation to Citraketu? 14th, what is the meaning of Tavasmi? All right, so these 14 questions. We have a couple of announcements today that there is a wonderful opportunity for service for 3Ds. Please join us for a 3-day special session on Shri Radha Kripa Kataksha Stavaraj. It'll be 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time in US, 8:30 a.m. Central Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and 7 p.m. India Time, starting tomorrow. It's from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So please join that. And we would request, we will send the announcement. We have actually already sent the announcement in the WhatsApp groups. So please use that information. And we would request you to please take some time and fill out the survey form that was sent on Sunday. Your feedback is very, very important to us. It was also sent today. It has been shared in the comments, both on YouTube and Facebook comments. And this will help us in serving you better and improving our service to you. So if there are no more questions, we can end here today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.